Good evening. Welcome to the October 17th, 2022 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order, and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up tonight on our agenda under proclamations and presentations, we have a proclamation honoring the golden anniversary of Stillwater Medical Center employee Madeline Middlestead. This is exciting, and I'm really honored to read this proclamation. I know we have a number of folks here, along with Madeline and her family. So I will read this, and I don't know if you have comments to make yourself, or we're just here to observe. Okay. Whereas the City of Stillwater and Stillwater Medical Center Authority profoundly honor Madeline Middlestead for her exemplary service throughout the past 5 decades since her appointment to Stillwater Medical Center in 1972. And whereas Madeline has helped shape the trajectory of patient access with her experience working in accounting and billing during her first 20 years, prior to joining patient access to add prepayments and insurance pre-certifications to her repertoire. And whereas Madeline continues to go above and beyond to do her work, as well as answer the questions of any caller or coworker, and inspires others to leadership with her honor, commitment, and integrity. And whereas Madeline touches the lives of her peers with empathy and grace, celebrates their milestones, and sharing hers, and makes a difference every day. And whereas the City of Stillwater, Stillwater Medical Center administration, and her team members are profoundly grateful for Madeline's dedication to unwavering accuracy, compassion, and excellence. Therefore, I, Mayor William Joyce, and the City Council, on behalf of the residents of Stillwater, honor Madeline Middlestead for her 50 years of service and dedication, optimizing service above self. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank our City of Stillwater, Madeline, on behalf of the team at Stillwater Medical. We are so honored that, a life of service is hard. And 50 years to many of us that serve our public is just, I can't even imagine it. I'm not there myself. So thank you for your commitment to this community, to our patients, and for the service you've provided for these 50 years. And thank you for honoring her.
I was going to make a comment that the Middlestead family has a long history together of service to the city, and Mr. McNichol just let me know that that number is actually 93 years combined of service to the community of Stillwater. We are incredibly grateful. Thank you so much. That takes us to item 4 on our agenda, the consent docket. Councilors, questions, comments, or is there action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved.
I've never heard that gavel before.
I know, it just sort of sits here until I knock it off of its stand. There is a gavel, just in case you're wondering. All right. No public hearings this evening, so we'll move item 7, general orders. 7A is consider authorizing the Stillwater Fire Department to lease purchase an aerial apparatus from Pierce Manufacturing. And Chief Essery is here to tell us about this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Terry Essery, Fire Chief. The replacement of an aerial apparatus is scheduled in the city's capital improvement plan for fiscal year 25-26. This has historically been based on the National Fire Protection Association standard of placing apparatus in reserve status at the 15-year mark, and even sooner if the vehicle becomes maintenance intensive. SFD's Truck 3 was purchased in 2006 and it has over 10,000 engine hours, which translates to the equivalent of over 358,000 road miles. Repairs in the last 5 years total over $67,000, and Truck 3 has been out of service for 196 days during that same time frame. The ISO, which is the Insurance Service Office rating, is dependent upon SFD's ability to respond in aerial device within a specified time frame or road miles, which is 2.5 from a fire station, with the needed vertical reach to buildings 3 stories and taller, which we have over 200 of, and or structures that require water flow rates of over 3,500 gallons per minute, which in context, that's about a 11,000 square foot home or business, which we have several. The geographical layout of Stillwater's multi-story buildings and large structures requires 2 aerial apparatus to effectively respond to emergencies throughout the city. Having 2 aerial devices as frontline response vehicles will help ensure that the city has the best possible rescue and firefighting capabilities, as well as help maximize points on the ISO survey, which will potentially help lower insurance costs for residents and business owners. And due to many factors within the global economy and the fire service, lead times on apparatus of this type are averaging approximately 30 months, and with the hurricanes, that's probably going to be stretched to 36 months. SFD has witnessed multiple price increases, as we all have, in the last 2 years, ranging from 15 to over 20%, and is facing another increase of 6.5% effective November 1st, 2022. An apparatus committee made up of Stillwater firefighters began researching replacement options and determined that utilizing the HGAC, Houston Galveston Area Council Purchasing Program, was the best course of action. Our last 4 apparatus were purchased through this program. The HGAC meets or exceeds all state, county, and local purchasing agreements. The apparatus committee identified the following minimum specs as selection criteria: single rear axle for better turn radius for our narrow streets, minimum 100-foot ladder with waterway. Currently, our tallest building is 112 feet, but Kerr Drummond is scheduled to come down any time. We're not real sure when that's going to happen, but when it does come down, if in fact it does, we still have Scott Parker Wentz, which is 10 stories. And 1,500 gallons per minute pump and a 5-person minimum cab. After conducting a thorough cost analysis, it is recommended to replace the current aerial apparatus. SFD selected the quote for 1 Pierce aerial truck submitted by Conrad Fire Equipment, which meets all the mandatory vehicle specs established by the apparatus committee. SFD currently has 3 Pierce apparatus in service and has 2 additional engines on order that are scheduled to be here in June or July this year, or this next year. These apparatus have provided excellent service with minimal unexpected costs over the course of their service life. In addition, the manufacturer has been extremely responsive in providing affordable, efficient, and reliable service when requested. The proposed new fire apparatus has a comprehensive warranty that covers major components of the vehicle, which will greatly reduce downtime and repair costs. The acquisition of this apparatus will enable the department to further the goals of standardizing the fire fleet to enhance operational capabilities, streamlining maintenance, and increasing firefighter safety, and providing the ability to stock commonly used replacement parts that have become hard to acquire in a timely fashion, thus lessening longer than normal out-of-service times. And I would be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you, Chief. Counselors, any questions? Do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, sir, I do. Stillwater Fire Department would like to make a motion to authorize the lease purchase of 1 aerial apparatus from Pierce Manufacturing through the Houston Galveston Area Council Purchase Program and financed through the Bank of America, Stillwater Utilities Authority Master Equipment Lease Purchase Agreement at an initial purchase amount of $1,385,246.40 and authorize the city manager to sign related documents.
Thank you, Chief. Council, any action on the recommendation from staff?
I move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve this purchase. Please vote. The item's approved with a vote of 4-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
So it'll be several years before we see this
Yeah.
truck in.
Approximately 3.
Okay. We'll be looking forward to it. Item 7B is receive the Stillwater Public Library Trust Board Annual Report and announcement regarding the Stillwater Public Library Centennial Kickoff and fundraising for the trust. Hi, Stacy.
Good evening. I'm Stacy Delano, the Library Director of the Stillwater Public Library. And tonight I'm going to be discussing the library's 2023 centennial, but first I'll be presenting the Public Library Trust's annual report. So the trust was created by both the city of Stillwater and the library board, as well as actually the Friends of the Library, for the purpose of holding and investing and growing donations to the library for its future benefit. And as we increased and have increased our efforts in fundraising to try to provide a sustainable future for the library, I'm really pleased to report that we received 21 donations in fiscal year 22, totaling $26,133.19, which is a great amount for us to do in a single year. And at the end of the fiscal year, we had a total balance of $642,011.61. I do want to show my great appreciation for our Library Trust Board members who've provided such excellent guidance in these turbulent financial times. We could not have done it without them. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the trust reports.
Thank you, Stacy. Councilors, any questions?
Stacy, I'm new here. What are the allowable uses of the trust fund?
So there is not necessarily a cap or a limit to what we can purchase with the trust, as long as it does not supplant the normal giving from the city of Stillwater and from the state.
Okay, so it could be used for purchase of some materials, it could be used to maintain your facility, it could be used for about anything.
Yes, and at this point in my period of directorship, I'm working hard to try to grow it so that we'll realize a yearly distribution that allows me to start approaching some of the major projects that we're interested in, such as walling in with glass, a quiet space for people who are coming in to do work in their business, study, have very quiet time, while still being able then to maintain a welcoming atmosphere for families and kids, and that means allowing them to talk a little bit. Also, after school tutoring for children in person we're looking at, and refurbishing the courtyard so that we can have a wide variety of program opportunities out in that beautiful courtyard we have.
Thank you.
All right. What else is on the agenda for you?
Well, at this time, I will recommend a motion to accept the fiscal year 22 Stillwater Public Library Trust annual reports.
So what we've noticed on the agenda is just to receive the annual report. There's not an action item on this. I don't believe that they have to actually formally accept the report. Is that right?
I believe they do.
Okay, then we'll need to go ahead and put it on the next agenda as well so that we can take action on it.
Can we put that on consent for next meeting, or does it have to be?
Yes, it could be placed on consent.
We'll get it on our next consent.
For in that case, then, I want to tell you just a little bit about the library's centennial and what it means to us and what we hope it'll mean to the community. In all, most of us really do have some sort of library story. I certainly do. Mayor Will, I know that you do. When I was a kid, every day, as many days as possible, would bike all the way to the library to do everything from doing homework, of course, and reading stories, but also more than that. I was learning that there was so much more in the world bigger than my little tiny community. and discovering that there were much, much bigger ideas than the small amount that I had already learned. As a slightly awkward, quiet, and kind of lonely kid, once I entered those library doors, I found that I had hundreds and hundreds of friends. Now, they were all in book pages, of course, but they were my friends nonetheless. The librarians there were the kindest people I knew, and they took a lot of time to thoroughly teach me what the information in those books could do. Could do things like find me the money to get to college. It found me answers when my parents were getting a divorce. It did so much for me. So for me, my life story actually ends up being the library. Everyone has some part, big or small, of their life that's influenced by the library. And in 2023, the Stillwater Public Library celebrates its 100-year anniversary of playing a role in citizens' lives and helping them to write their own story. The way that we help people now may have changed a little bit. So maybe instead of pulling a story off the shelf, we're helping them get it downloaded. Or maybe instead of just looking in an index for a fact to help them in one of their projects or question that they have, we're instead navigating hundreds of sometimes really dicey web pages so we can get them the right answer. But the role that we play is still the same as what they were doing in 1923. And that's being kind and patient professionals who are connecting all of you, all of the people in Stillwater, with credible information, life-changing stories, and reliable technology to empower the people in Stillwater to decide for themselves, how their story is going to unfold. So here are just a few ways that we're impacting the lives of people in Stillwater. Sometimes it really is hard to explain what the library does and what it's about, even to ourselves. Maybe it was easier in 1923 when the first Stillwater librarian was limited to just checking out books. But even early on, librarians strive to do so much more for their communities. Of course, we're still about reading and books. We always will be. But the library is also about so much more.
I saw books everywhere when I walked in the door. Books in every room from ceiling to floor.
It's about introducing children to their first written words and a lifelong love of learning.
It's about teaching people new technology so they can keep in touch with their families.
It's providing a space for people to meet and share new ideas.
Space to start a new business.
It's about learning how to do something new.
The joy of relaxing an hour with your favorite book.
Learning about a new topic with a community of others excited to learn the same thing.
A safe place for teens to explore a world of understanding characters when it feels like not another soul understands them.
Having accessible resources for everyone.
A way to get reliable information, ebooks, and audiobooks anywhere, anytime.
The hope that you feel when you've submitted your resume and learn you got the interview.
The relief of finding out that your application for medical insurance has been approved.
Access to databases, books, and experts so you can explore your family roots.
Building relationships with library staff that feels like family.
And at the end of the day, it's about that child coming back 30 years later, knowing that they will get kind and welcoming help.
I think the reason it's hard to describe what the library does is because the role the library plays in your life is different for every single person. But the one thing that the library does for all of us is provide free access to the tools we all need to make the best decisions we can, to make our own choices, and to take control of our own lives. It's available to every single one of us, no matter who we are
what we believe, where we come from. If you want it, the library's here to help.
The library and its librarians have been providing these services to help our community members for over 100 years. By contributing to the Stillwater Public Library through its trust, you're helping the community grow an endowment that provides consistent funding, ensuring that the library can do the same for 100 years to come.
Stillwater Public Library, 100 years of reading.
Of exploring new worlds.
Of connecting with our community.
Of empowerment.
And open doors.
Library what it is. It does make a huge difference to us, the support that we receive. And really the library is about the people and the community that we're in. So we're inviting the community to celebrate the centennial with us throughout the next upcoming year. So we ask people to visit the Centennial webpage for the 2023 special events and exhibits and for the methods we have to donate to the trust so that the library continue to hold its place in Stillwater's story for the next 100 years. Thanks.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. It feels very odd to say that I've been a patron of the Stillwater Public Library for 40% of its life. But I did start going to that library as a child, just 3 years old probably, and my experience there has been much of what's described in that video. And so it's great to see us celebrating the centennial. I'm looking forward to that and what goes into it, and seeing more of that support from our community for what the library provides. It's a wonderful resource here. Thank you. All right, that takes us to item C. Consider authorizing staff to enter a professional services agreement with MMO Partners. Melissa Reams.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Melissa Reams, Deputy City Manager. This evening, I would like for you to consider authorizing us to enter into a partnership with MMO Partners. They are a federal advocacy group out of Washington, D.C., and as we are building our current funding stack for what I call our Call Water project, so the endpoint storage, the rehabilitation of the power plant, and the transmission line from Call Lake, they would be instrumental in helping us garner federal dollars that are there for this type of water project. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, and then I do have a recommendation for you.
Councilors, any questions? What's your recommendation?
Our recommendation is that you authorize staff to enter into a professional services agreement with MMO Partners for federal advocacy services in the amount of $79,200 and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents.
Thank you, Melissa. Councilors?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the professional services agreement. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 4-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. Looking forward to finding every possible dollar we can for that project. Item 8 is resolutions. First up, Resolution CC-2022-28, a resolution of the Stillwater City Council prohibiting the flying of unmanned aircraft systems during certain public events on October 21st and 22nd, 2022. Anybody know what those certain public events are?
It would be a homecoming and walk around.
Homecoming and walk around.
This is an annual request that we make through emergency management, Rob Hill, and busy time coming up for the Friday and Saturday and part of Sunday.
Yep. Councilors, any questions about the resolution? Is there a motion on the item?
Move to adopt resolution CC 2022-28.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Resolution's adopted 4-0. Appreciate you being here tonight, Rob. Looking forward to all of the wonderful things that are going to happen this week, and just give you guys a little boost of encouragement, as I know this is probably your busiest, one of your busiest weeks of the year, if not the busiest. So appreciate all the services you guys provide. Next up, Item 8B, Resolution CC-2022-29, a joint resolution by the Stillwater Economic Development Authority and the City Council of the City of Stillwater approving an amended and restated redevelopment agreement between the Stillwater Economic Development Authority and Lakeview Landing LLC and authorizing supporting documents and instruments as are necessary and appropriate to implement and carry out the terms of the amended and restated redevelopment agreement. Melissa.
Back again. So this is a joint resolution between City Council and SEDA, so you will see it again on the SEDA agenda. I think the recitals that were written there give the history of the project that BLS has become, and again, just to refresh our viewers' minds, it is the rehabilitation of the Boomer Lake Power Station, which is iconic to Stillwater. As we've been working through the project, we have encountered some unforeseen things, and that was mentioned in the recitals. Just to list a few is the need for an inundation easement. I've learned a lot about stormwater and compensatory storage and how these things need to be noticed on deeds for people, future owners of the property. So that's taken us some time to figure out. We've had some hurdles with the surplus and disposal of the generation power units out there at BLS. I think we're working through those. We're getting close to being able to surplus those items and put them up for sale. Our poor redeveloper has encountered so many hurdles that we just never anticipated. Rising interest rates, skyrocketing construction costs, and the volatility of the housing market here in Stillwater. So with all of those hurdles, we have come up with an amendment to the redevelopment agreement that you all entered into back in April of 2021. At this point, we are still finalizing some of the details, but what we are authorizing or asking you to authorize this evening is for us to move forward and bring it back to, we will bring it back to you probably on a future consent agenda for your review at that time. I am happy to answer any questions.
Do we expect much of a demand for 60-plus-year-old steam generators?
I asked our electric utility director, Lauren Smith, that, and he thinks they're worth anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 each, and there are 4 of them. Okay. So there still is a market out there for them, not quite like there used to be.
They're diesel generators, so.
Yes. They're diesel. This is going to reduce our carbon footprint, definitely.
Yeah. So just to be clear, we're not changing any of the financial, we're not increasing the amount of money that's being invested in this project.
No.
We're not changing the overall return on that investment that the city's getting. What we're doing is sort of staggering or rearranging the timelines to actually make this work, given the different hurdles that we've had to jump over.
You are absolutely correct. That is the biggest change, and you will see us reference some additional phases because we've taken large phases and broken them down even to smaller, more palatable chunks based on the current economic market that we're in.
Yeah, this is the reality of redevelopment. We wanted a project here that was going to use this facility and create something that would be unique, and we knew that that was going to be a challenge for anybody, and that's why one of the reasons why we're willing to invest in it to make that happen, and we're still willing to invest in it. At least I am.
Yes,
so.
I think we all are.
All right. Further questions or comments on the resolution? Is there any action on the item?
Motion to adopt resolution CC-2022-29, and I assume we wait till economic development. So, there's the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, resolution CC-2022-29 is adopted. That takes us to ordinances on first read. We have ordinance 3510, an ordinance rezoning a tract of land located at 603 West High Point Drive from commercial shopping to commercial general. This is an item from our last meeting. Councilors, questions or action on the item?
Motion to advance ordinance number 3510 to second read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance to second read. Please vote. That ordinance is advanced with a vote of 4-0. On second read, we have ordinance 3504, an ordinance amending Stillwater City Code by amending Chapter 23, Land Development Code, Article 7, Signs, Division 2, District Sign Regulations.
Move to adopt ordinance 3509.
3504.
Or 3504, excuse me.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 3504. Please vote. Ordinance is adopted with a vote of 4-0. On second read, we have ordinance 3509, an ordinance rezoning tracts of land located at or near 1407 and 1809 East Burris Road and 5920 North Jardeau Road from agriculture to large lot single family.
Motion to adopt ordinance 3509.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. The ordinance is adopted with a vote of 4-0. Reports from officers and boards. Ms. Carnley.
Request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B1 of the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act for the purpose of confidential communication regarding the employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of Stillwater City Manager Norman McNichol.
Thank you. Mr. McNichol.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple items. On Saturday, October 29th, the city will have two events in one, the Household Hazardous Waste Collection and Electronics Recycling event. The event will be from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Convenience Collection Center, located at 807 South Perkins Road. During this event, residents are encouraged to drop off any household pollutants for free. Accepted items include oil-based paints, pesticides, herbicides, household cleaning products, pool chemicals, unused pharmaceuticals, and more. Additionally, residents can drop off certain electronics for recycling. These items can be computers, network equipment, computer monitors, printers, copiers, stereo equipment, small household appliances such as toasters, irons, coffee pots, telephones, security equipment, VCRs, radios, lead-acid batteries, and more. If you have questions about the event, contact the Convenience Collection Center at 405-533-8458 or go to stillwater.org.
That is good news for those of us who are still holding on to VCRs that need to be recycled.
Not sure they take the tapes, though.
Councilor Hawkins.
We are looking for an individual to fill a vacancy on the Board of Adjustment. The board consists of 5 members and is empowered by city code to conduct hearings and render decisions on matters of appeals, variances, and special exceptions to the zoning ordinance. The board is considered to be quasi-judicial in that its decisions can only be overturned by district court. Term length is 3 years. If you would like to fill out an online application, please go to stillwater.org/citizenboards. For additional information, contact Assistant to the City Manager, Patty Osmos, at 405-742-8209.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I see several people in the room tonight who look like they're good candidates for the Board of Adjustment. So please contact Patty if you have an application to submit. Councilor Jaloski.
Yes, throughout October, there is a temporary reduction of waste management services due to staffing shortages. Residents will need to drop off glass and yard waste at the collection center. These items will not be picked up at curbside. To help customers through October, they are not limited to 1 truckload per day as they have been in the past. Please know that trailers are still not allowed at the collection center due to safety purposes. So just kind of 1 month to make it through with these limited services, but back on it after that.
Thank you. Councilor Clark.
We continue to remind residents of available funding assistance. If you've had difficulty making utility or rent payments as a result of COVID-19, the City of Stillwater and Our Daily Bread may be able to help. The funding assistance program will be available until all funds are dispersed. Please go to ourdailybreadstillwater.org to apply and for more information.
Excellent. Yep. Thank you. Mr. McNichol, you had something else?
I do, and I think probably everybody in the room knows this, but we'll go through it anyway. We have many fun events this week leading up to our OSU homecoming game Saturday. The walk-around will be at the evening of October 21st with road closures beginning at 5:30 p.m. The parade will begin Saturday, October 22nd, beginning at 9 a.m. downtown on Main Street. This is the largest parade in more than 2 decades, and the walk-around will bring several thousand, actually tens of thousands, to our city. We hope that all attendees of America's greatest homecoming enjoy themselves, create special memories with family and friends, and return home safely. We're very appreciative of the countless hours that emergency management, police, fire, public works, and many more have already invested to mitigate potential safety risks. Don't forget, if you're going to the football game, take advantage of the free park and ride shuttle downtown service that's downtown, 7th and Lewis. Passengers will be picked up on 7th Avenue bus stop. Shuttles run at 3 hours before kickoff and continue to run 15 minutes throughout the postgame. And in reference to homecoming, I also want to thank Payne County and others that provide us with a lot of assistance throughout the weekend.
Absolutely. This is my favorite time of year in Stillwater. I love homecoming. It's just fantastic, but it is a lot of work by a lot of people. And we appreciate while everyone's out enjoying themselves that they also keep that in mind and do what you can to be part of helping run a good homecoming and not part of the issues that come up. So have a great week with that. I will also let you know that motorists are being asked to pay careful attention to signs directing traffic through a lane shift on South Perkins Road at 3rd Avenue. The change in traffic flow in the southbound lanes between Virginia and 6th Avenue was implemented September 28th, and drivers who do not follow the intended path have created a dangerous situation. We know there are multiple much-needed roadway construction projects throughout our city right now, and it can be frustrating and confusing at times. Please allow additional travel time and follow the traffic signs. Let's all help each other out and get to our destination safely. All right, takes us to item 12, but I will move that we recess the city council meeting at this point.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess city council. Please vote. The vote of 4-0, the city council will now be in recess. At this time, I will call to order. Let's see, what am I doing next? Let's go to SUA. At this time, I will call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for October 17th, 2022. We have a consent docket here. Trustees, questions, comments, or action on the consent docket?
Move to approve the consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the consent docket is approved. Under general orders tonight, item A, consider authorizing expenditures for the electronic waste gate upgrade. Mr. Lawrence Smith, tell us what an electronic waste gate is.
Very exciting. Good evening, trustees. Lawrence Smith, Electric Utility Director. The Stillwater Energy Center uses 3 Wärtsilä 18V50SG engine generators to produce electricity. Each engine is turbocharged to force air into the cylinders for combustion. The wastegate acts as a throttle to control how fast the turbochargers spin, which in turn determine how much air is being forced into the combustion cycle. Staff has been experiencing significant issues with the existing pneumatic wastegates, and they are in need of replacement. Wärtsilä now offers an electronic controlled wastegate as an upgrade. During the next service interval, the turbochargers require a major overhaul, which makes for an ideal time for the upgrade. The electronic wastegate upgrade can only be purchased from Wärtsilä. I have a motion, but I will pause here to answer any questions.
Trustees? These things have been getting a lot of work.
Lots of work. We are about 13,000 to 13,500 hours. And so
since opening?
Yeah, since opening. And so that's well above what we had been planned for in the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I felt like I remember when we opened the place that it felt like it maybe wouldn't run all the time, but it has been.
We anticipated a 600 to 800 hours a year of running, and now we're 2,000, 2,500. It just tells you what's going on in the energy market today with more wind coming on and the beauty of these quick start resources for the SPP.
So the turbo maintenance needs to happen is just part of the general maintenance cycle?
Yeah, it's actually due at the 12,000 hour service interval. We were not scheduled to be there until this fall, but we actually ran so much this summer that we're into the 13,500 hours. So probably in May, April timeframe, we're going to pull the turbochargers off, send them off to be rebuilt, and bring them back and reinstall them. So it's a big service interval for us.
So is this upgrade a reliability issue, or is it a efficiency, or what's it?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, some of the issues we're having with these pneumatic wastegates, the controller on them, it's called an open loop design, right? Control design, and that means basically the controller sends out a control that says, "Hey, I want you to be at 50%." And it leaves it at that. Well, it never gets any feedback back to say, are you actually at 50%? And so what we run into is, yes, it's asking for 50%. We go out and it's at 30%, which affects the combustion of the engine as far as if it's running too rich or too lean. And so we've really need to address that. And so this closed loop, the electronic replacements will be what's called a closed loop design, where it says, I want 50%, and it says, yes, I'm at 50%. And if not, it takes evasive action to correct that, whether it's a controlled shutdown or a derate, rather than what we've experienced with trips and unexpected outages and stuff like that. But there are several key benefits that were outlined in the report. Most certainly more stability. The pneumatic controls tend to flutter a lot, but the electronic is a lot smoother, and so this will be a great upgrade all around.
Good. Trustees, any further questions? What's your recommendation for us?
Motion to authorize expenditures for the electronic wastegate upgrade for $186,274, including 10% contingency from Wartzilla for the 3 18V50SG engine generators at the Stillwater Energy Center. Approve a budget amendment appropriating funds from the Electric Rate Stabilization Fund, and authorize general manager to sign related documents.
Trustees?
Move to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It's approved 4-0. Thank you, Lauren. Item B is consider an award of a unit price contract to Audubon Field Services for the cathodic protection design and construction project. Mr. Barth.
Good evening, trustees. David Barth with City Engineering. There we go. Tonight here to bring you the bid results for the cathodic protection systems project. On this cover slide here, you can see a familiar figure. This is our water treatment plant. A majority of this project is connected. The raw water pipeline that extends from our from our water treatment plant 36 miles to the north up to Caw Lake. And then we have a finished water or treated water pipeline that extends south of our water treatment plant into the distribution system, and that's 6 miles of the same 36-inch pipe. And so, like I said, the majority of this project is to install a new cathodic protection system on that project, or on that pipeline. And I would just add, we've recently completed 8 repairs on that pipeline to leaks. We had 4 of them that were performed by a contractor and 4 of them that were performed by our own city forces. And we've got 2 leaks right now that our city forces are working on. So we've had 10 leaks in the last few months that we've been working to repair. So the goal is that this system will help slow those leaks down from occurring. And all of them have occurred within just a couple of inches of a pipe joint. So we're seeing a pattern. This next slide shows where we're also installing some cathodic protection systems in other parts of our system. There are 7 water storage tanks. Some of those are ground storage tanks. Some of them are elevated storage tanks. And then we've got the green circles there. Those are 4 wastewater lift stations where we've got a steel can dry pit that we can protect the integrity of that can with a cathodic protection system. And those systems, those four, will be what's called a sacrificial anode system. There's no impressed current. There's just an anode there that's being eaten away instead of our steel can. This next slide shows the relation to the strategic priorities and our budget and funding. This project will be funded again by both the water and wastewater funds. This action will increase total authorized project expenditures to about $2.1 million, because that includes design that we've already incurred, the design costs. And with that, I would ask if you have any questions before I recommend a motion.
Trustees? What's your recommendation, David?
Staff recommends that trustees award the unit price contract to Audubon Field Solutions LLC in the amount of $1,604,961. Authorize construction expenditures of $1,765,000 for the amounts shown below, which is $1,604,961 for the bid, $160,039 for a 10% contingency. Authorize the general manager to sign related documents and approve the budget amendment.
Thank you, sir. Trustees?
Move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation. Please vote. It's approved 4-0. Thank you, David. Item C is authorize staff to enter into an electric cost of service rate design agreement with LM Vetter Consulting. Melissa Reams.
Good evening, trustees. Melissa Reams. We're actually going to talk about items C and D together, but you will then vote separately on each one of these professional services engagements. Just to review, we received a report from Avant Energy back in February of 2020 regarding electric, water, and wastewater rates. And due to COVID and some of the other challenges we encountered during 2020 and 2021, those rates and those recommendations in that report you all chose not to act on. We did reinstitute the rate escalator. It went back into effect in July of 2022 of this year. The report now is outdated. The data that they used was from 2018, and so we're a good 4 years down the road. It's time to revisit that and plug in some of the new capital projects that we have become so aware that are a need. And we have been able to source 2 consultants, one of them being LM Vetter Consulting, and Lisa Vetter is the principal with that company, and she did work for Avant at the time they did the electric rate study for us. So we're getting some cost savings there because she's very familiar with our system. The water and wastewater study now has shifted from Avant to a company that I think you'll recognize, New Gen Strategies. New Gen has done our waste management rate study for us, and they are currently working on our rural water rate study. So again, that economy of already knowing the system, knowing the subject matter, and they're going to be able to do the water and wastewater rate study and incorporate into that a more holistic approach, so that we look at wholesale water sales, we look at rural water, we look at residential, we look at commercial. We're going to look at it from all aspects. So I will stop right there and see if you all have any questions.
Trustees, any questions?
Do we know about how long it takes to complete these studies?
Yes, so Lisa has scoped out 20 weeks worth of work. New Gen has said they will have a report, they hope, to us by April the 3rd. So again, it's about a 20-week process.
Thank you.
And they've already completed a lot of the work on the rural water study.
Will both of them include a cost of service, or will they just be?
Yes, cost of service, and then a rate design component as well. So you're correct. There are two prongs there.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation for us, Melissa?
Well, we'll start off with electric, and
Yes.
we are recommending that you authorize us to engage LM Vetter Consulting for an electric cost of service study and rate design services for the SUA electric utility in an amount not to exceed $72,500, which does include a 10% contingency on the professional services component, and then Lisa had a travel component in there, and I didn't calculate a contingency there. And authorize the general manager to sign all related documents.
Trustees?
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the staff recommendation on item 5C. Please vote. It's approved with a vote of 4-0. And then on 5D, related to water and wastewater, what's your recommendation?
The recommendation is to authorize staff to enter into a water wastewater cost of service and rate design study with New Gen Strategies for an amount not to exceed $74,250. This does include a 10% contingency, and authorize the general manager to sign all the related documents.
Trustees?
Motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. It's approved 4-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Item 5E is the SUA component of the authorization for the fire department's lease purchase of a new aerial apparatus. Chief Essery is still here. Trustees, if you have any questions for the chief, I assume the information is all the same that we heard as City Council?
Yes, it is the same.
All right. Councilors, if there are no questions, is there action on the item?
I move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the staff's recommendation authorizing the purchase of aerial apparatus. Please vote. It's approved by a vote of 4-0.
Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around, Chief. Item 6 is resolutions. Resolution number SUA 2022-9 is a resolution authorizing the Stillwater Utilities Authority to submit an application for an American Rescue Plan Act grant from the Oklahoma Water Resources Board for a capital grant to fund a project for construction of recovered water pump station, finished water pump station, and finished water caustic system at the water treatment plant, and approving a budget amendment appropriating funds for the required cost share of the project account, to the project account. Shelley.
Shelley Kreins. Good evening, trustees. Governor Stitt recently approved $50 million in one-time funding from the American Rescue Plan Act for water, wastewater, and dam rehabilitation infrastructure projects. And that's to be given out through grant applications from OWRB, the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. So this resolution is a requirement for the application. We would like for you to approve a grant application for $2 million for a drinking water project that we have identified. It's the construction of a recovered water pump station, finished water pump station, and finished water caustic system at the water treatment plant. Budget amendments have been prepared, reflecting $2 million, which would be our cost share for the project, should we be granted the application. So do you have any questions?
Trustees?
So our cost share is $2 million and the total is $4 million?
Yes, yes.
This money's so important. Some community's going to get it. It might as
Somebody's
well be
going
us.
to get this money.
Yes.
Yeah. Trustees, any further questions? I assume your recommendation is that we adopt the resolution?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much. Counselor, or trustees?
Motion to adopt resolution number SUA 2022-9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. The resolution is adopted with a vote of 4-0. Are there any reports from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the Stillwater Utilities Authority is now adjourned. That takes us to the agenda for the Stillwater Economic Development Authority for October 17th, 2022. I'll call this meeting to order. We have one item on the consent docket. Trustees?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve consent. Please vote. Consent docket's approved 4-0. Only other item on the agenda is a resolution, SEDA 2022-4, which is a joint resolution of the Stillwater Economic Development Authority and the City Council of the City of Stillwater, approving, amending, and restating the development agreement between the Stillwater Economic Development Authority and Lakeview Landing LLC, and authorizing all supporting documents and instruments as are necessary and appropriate to implement and carry out the terms of the amended and restated development agreement. This item was addressed in our City Council meeting. Any further questions for Melissa? Is there a motion on the item, trustees?
Move to adopt resolution SEDA 2022-4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Resolution SEDA 2022-4 is adopted with a vote of 4-0. Any reports from the officers of the board? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn SEDA. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the Stillwater Economic Development Authority is now adjourned. At this time, I will reconvene the Stillwater City Council meeting. We're at item 12 on the agenda. Is there a motion to enter executive session for the purposes requested by the city attorney?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 4-0, the Stillwater City Council will now enter executive session. We are back in the room. Is there a motion to reconvene the city council?
Motion to reconvene?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you please
Mayor
call the-
Joyce?
Yes.
Counselor Jaloski?
Yes.
Counselor Hawkins?
Yes.
Counselor Clark?
Yes.
With a vote of 4-0, we're now reconvened. There's no action to be taken on our executive session. So we would be ready for a motion to adjourn if anybody wanted to make one.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Mayor Joyce?
Yes.
Counselor Jaloski?
Yes.
Counselor Hawkins?
Yes.
Counselor Clark?
Yes.
With a vote of 4-0, Stillwater City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.